here with Chuck Cooper. Chuck has written a book. He is the founder of Whitewater Consulting, and the book is called Unprecedented, and it is just an exceptional book to help small business people, mainly around personnel issues. Is that a fair statement?
It is fair. It's really, I mean, what we looked at was really the top issues that most entrepreneurs have, and comes back to company culture, back to employees and communication. And
Okay. So let me ask you a few questions here.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Number one, you've got here decide whether to build an HR team or outsource.
Yes.
When and how do I decide to do that? Obviously, I was at 175 and still trying to do it myself. Whoops.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, most of the time.
Looking back, I now laugh at that, right? Like, boy, that was a mistake, right?
No, and I think that's something that honestly, as an entrepreneur puts together their business plan, this is one of those areas that they need to have some clarity around as far as how they're going to handle HR and their personnel before they even launch their business. And so obviously when they first start, things are going to be small.
Yeah, but
they're
when
doing
I'm
everything.
getting started, I don't know that I know when I'm going to need this help, right?
Well, the reality is most of the time, most entrepreneurs, we don't know what we don't know. And when it comes to the people side, there's so much liability today versus what there was 20 years ago or 30 years ago that, again, we need to be able to have some policies and some resources in place, whether that's a person that has some understanding of HR or whether we want to partner with an outside resource that will actually take on some of that liability for us.
Interesting. Okay, I got another one for you. So, the takeaways that I get from your book, you literally, that's what I love about your book, you literally put those takeaways on the back of the book, right?
Right.
And so one of the things you talk about is how to do the outsourcing. That's really where you come in, right? So I could call you and say, Chuck, okay, all right, I'm not going to manage 175 people on my own anymore. How do I do this?
Yeah, and so when you look at the HR world, you have really three options. You can build your own HR team internally and in-house. And there's really some advantages to doing that. I mean, obviously, you got somebody that's on your payroll 24/7. They've got a vested interest in your company, and you've got access to them 24/7. Or you can look at doing the HR outsourcing options, which there's two of those. One of those is called a PEO, or Professional Employer Organization. A PEO, there's about 450 of those companies in the U.S. today. They basically have got tens of thousands of small businesses that they provide the HR services for and the employee benefits for. And in that model, you're basically saying, all right, business partner, I want you to handle this on my behalf. And that allows you to really stay focused on growing your company, managing your expenses, and controlling your liability.
I did that with the actual paying of the staff, but not of the managing of the day-to-day and also these many issues that came up.
Correct. And so, I mean, so you look in the marketplace today, you've got companies like ADP and Paychex, and there's a list of companies out there, but ADP and Paychex are your two big ones. They handle most of the payroll for small and mid-sized companies. Even within those organizations, though, they've got other divisions that they will handle all of the HR for their clients as well. And so, again, you're paying a fee for every employee that you put into that relationship. So sometimes it can be cost prohibitive to do that.
Right. And that's why we all slow at moving in this, is to try and save dollars.
Absolutely.
And I've learned that as much as I think I'm brilliant, dealing with people, it absolutely is not, it really has nothing to do with how good or skilled you are. It's about timing. They tend to, the problems they bring tend to be when you don't want to think about them, right?
and it's usually those things that are keeping you up at night.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. So in your book, you talk about racism, isms. I want to get into that, but I know you brought something that you want to talk about. So let's talk about what you want to talk about. And then if we get time, I want to talk about how to deal with racism, because it is it's this issue that never seems to go away, right? Every time we think we got control of it,
every 4 years it comes back up.
That's right. That's a good point. So if we got time, I want to talk about it. Okay. But for you, what did you bring that you want to talk about?
So what I found was, as we starting off 2024, I found an article the other day that really lists out the top 5 priorities for HR leaders in the U.S. for this year. And I thought it was really interesting because it starts off with the number one challenge that business that HR leaders have right now is really focused on leadership and manager development. So
Making sure that the people that are leading the staff are capable and qualified.
correct. Not just in the role that they have for, if it's a sales manager, being good at sales, they also have the skill sets to be able to lead the people.
Right.
And that's where what's really interesting when I look at this list that they came up with manager training, organizational culture, HR technology. These first three really tie in so well with the interviews that I did with business owners back in 2023, where we talked to about 1,200 business owners, and we identified through those conversations the top three, top four areas that they were challenged with, and it overlays exactly with what this report
And I want
showing.
people to hear that Chuck, you're here not because I like you.
Well, you do
Because
that
I
too.
don't like you. Julie obviously likes
Okay,
you. You
gotcha.
understand? Because you're really good at this. You know this, and it's not just Chuck's opinion. It really is the research that you have done. I mean, it comes out in your book. It comes out in the conversations we have. When you call Chuck, you're getting real quality information, not just what Chuck feels like saying at the time.
That's certainly what our intent is, and we pride ourselves in trying to being very objective with the guidance that we provide to our clients. At the end of the day, Joe, with the work we do, we do our best to gather information about our clients' business, and we do our best to be able to present them with the options and the data that they need to make the best
Right.
decision for their company.
Okay, did you have another?
So I think with regard to this list, organizational culture is something that was really important in 23. It's also remains very, very important in 24.
Because people care where they are in the pecking order.
Well, I think that it's more about do people that work for your organization, do they subscribe? Is there alignment with the values of the organization? And then personally, do they feel like that the work that they are doing, that it is bringing value to the company, and not just to the company, but to their communities that they are a part of and society in general? And then at the end of the day, do they feel like they really belong to that organization? And I think there's such a, we talk about in our work that we do, we talk about engagement all the time. And I think in some cases, we're actually asking the wrong questions. We're trying to figure out the engagement level when we should be trying to figure out, are people that are working for us, are they coming away from the work they do? Are they fulfilled in the work they do? If they are fulfilled and they feel like they belong, your engagement levels are going to go up, productivity goes up, and turnover goes down.
And that really, in my opinion, is why you need somebody to help you do that. Because I can't do that and run the business and do that on the customer side, right? Like that's what I'm doing to please my customer and the client.
Exactly.
So-
No, I think that's where
Exactly. You hit
I
on
knew-
it. You knew I was going to go there, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I think that is where, again, the business owners and those that are in the C-suite, they need to be focused on, again, managing their company, and they need to have a partner. And if they're gonna have somebody internally that's handling HR for them, they need to not only hire them, but they also need to trust and empower them to do their jobs.
Because these things that we're talking about, the new aged employee wants, right? The new staff member, they want these things. They demand these things. You understand, right? And because of that, it is really time consuming, and trying to do that and actually run the business gets almost impossible.
Well, so you got that from the business owner level. That's one of the things that a lot of people that are in manager roles today are feeling that same pressure, because they are essentially operating from a checklist, and they're spending more time in meetings to get ready for work than they are in actually doing the work and leading their people. So rather than leading a team today, as we have for decades, it's more about leading a series of individuals. So we have to get to know, Joe, what is it that makes you tick? What's important to you?
Especially now that 40% want to work from home.
Exactly.
Exactly. Go ahead, say it, Chuck. Own it, Chuck. Own it. Exactly. You fell right into it, didn't you?
All the time. But I think, so to your point, though, when you're talking about how we work and where we work, I mean, we were always working from the office in one location. Then the pandemic hit. Then we were working all remote. We've seen the pendulum actually start to swing back this last year to where more companies are having a return to work, a return to office setting for their people to come to. There's a lot of pushback still in that area
Oh, yeah.
today, but I think where we're going to settle out is going to be more in the hybrid model. So you're having people in the office Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, they're working from a different location.
Yeah, yeah. And I've learned something also. There are good managers and leaders because some of us know how to manage and lead based on not on pure performance, not on how much time you spend or when you spend that time. Is the job getting done? And if you've never done that before, it's that in itself could be a learning curve.
Yeah, as far as how we go about measuring the performance of our
Right,
employees,
right.
it's not based on the hours, and that's where I think a lot of business owners we feel most comfortable seeing people in the office, knowing the butts are in the seats, and we have confidence that they're working. Whereas if they're off site and maybe they're working at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or they're working at 10 o'clock at night,
That's right.
the work's getting done.
Right.
So how we go about measuring that performance is really important.
Right. And my experience is because of the travel, they're willing to spend a little bit more time in the business.
Absolutely, they are for sure.
Yeah. You wanted to say exactly. You were going to say exactly. Chuck, let's take a break. We'll be
Thank
right
you
back.
so much.
You are listening to Local